our jobs, we get to go to some cool places sometimes. When people say, oh, you're going to a nuclear power plant, it's so cool. I had the chance to work on this project with the Electric Power Research Institute, and also had the chance to work with Gus Grosch, a guy from, lots of knowledge about nuclear, and also a guy named Matt Gibson, that he's an electronic warfare specialist from the US Navy, retired, both with extensive knowledge about this, and both, my kind of people that, that are patient and like to teach and train. I walked into this project, knowing about radiation, very little. I walked in a baby, and I walked out, well, still a baby, with a loaded diaper. This is scary stuff. So, but what is it about nuclear? Because the word nuclear, has this bad name. And I feel kind of sad about recounting these, sad events. Nuclear bomb dropped in Hiroshima. 70,000 people evaporated immediately. 1 microsecond is what it took for the fission reaction to take place. 70,000 more people died from the shock wave and nuclear fallout. This is now, the bomb itself is small. There were only about 64 kilograms of uranium inside that bomb. But the punch that it takes in the environment and all the surroundings is tremendous. So, of course, it is that, what? No, Jim Palmer? No, that's not Jim Palmer. This is Jim Palmer. When we talk about nuclear power plants, and we talk about radiation, and we talk about nuclear waste and radiation or radioactive waste, we cannot help but think about The Simpsons, right? Because that's where Homer works, and yes, The Simpsons get a lot of facts right, but let me tell you, they got so many things wrong in this, because that's not how radioactive waste is stored. There are no pool parties, in the nuclear power plant that way, and they always portray this radiation and radioactive materials like this green, goopy, sticky material, and it's not. So let's talk about access to these nuclear power plants. For those of you who have worked in nuclear power plants, you know kind of what the process is. Same thing for industrial facilities. But you have to submit papers, documents, passports, and everything beforehand. You have to go through backgrounds, make sure you haven't been in countries that are in black lists or anything. But then here in the US also, you have to take a test, and then you have to study about alpha particles and beta radiation and gamma, and you have to learn about all this. And when you're on site, of course, you have to take a test to make sure you understand everything. And if you don't pass, then you don't get to go into a nuclear power plant. No pressure, you're on site doing that. Of course, I was taking care of Wi-Fi areas. Troy, my IoT specialist, came with me along these projects. And it's quite different here in the US versus what it is in Europe. Here, you're going to have Rambo-looking guys with machine guns and bulletproof vests, and you have checkpoint after checkpoint, and security is going through airports. You have to put everything in a cage. In Europe, it was not quite like that. We could just drive to a nuclear plant, and we were right there. And then now getting in, it was a different story. Because here you have to bring your hard toe shoes and stuff. Over there, can I bring my shoes? No, you don't need shoes. We'll give you shoes. Oh, that's nice. And they say, yeah, we'll give you a hard hat and goggles. And we get there, and then before entering the contention area, the area where you have to be monitored, we had to take our shoes off and our clothes and our undies and our socks, everything. Like the day I was born, we had to go and pick up from a bucket orange underwear. And then they pass us through a machine, and then we have to get tested, make sure we're not contaminated. And then once you go in, they gave me an overall that I think Jason Hintersteiner would have fit in it just perfect. And I asked them, like, do you have kid sizes? They said, like, no, one size fits all. So, I felt like, Tom Hanks in that movie, Big, remember? He goes and got big clothes. But it was an exceptional experience. Now, what is it all about radiation? Let's talk about radiation, because there's ionizing radiation and non-ionizing radiation. And it happens that radiation is everywhere. When we talk about Wi-Fi, we've seen this graph 1,000 times, because we know that we live in certain areas, certain type of ways. Well, all of this has to do with radiation. Let's start with the one we can see. The aurora borealis is a natural phenomena that is actually radiation. That's what's happening. Solar winds, radiation from the sun, interacts with gases in the upper atmosphere, and then we have these beautiful northern lights or southern lights. Now let's kind of look at the non-ionizing radiation. The most common type is fire. Well, we like to sit by the fire to get warm, but some maniacs out there like to play with fire. Well, in either case, fire is a type of radiation. It's infrared wavelength radiation. Harmless, unless you get too close or your hair catches on fire. Microwaves get a bad name. There are a lot of wrong information out there just showing that, and some people think that food that you put in the microwave becomes radioactive. That's not true. The reason why we're here, Wi-Fi. How many of you have had to either remove an AP, relocate an AP, or have a conversation with someone because they're worried that the AP is going to give them cancer? There's radiation. Yeah, it's very common. It's reality. Well, that's non-ionizing radiation. Now, phones. Who's got a cell phone? Of course, everybody got a cell phone. It is non-ionizing radiation. If it was ionizing, we'd all be dead by now. And yes, there are concerns about radiation, to the point that, like these scientists in Finland did a study of the effects of cell phone radiation on living humans. Now, emphasis on living humans. I assume this type of study on dead humans will be hard. I've called Jarno 10 times, it goes straight to voicemail. The problem is people think that the phones will give them cancer. Well, they did a study, 10 people, and then they realized that out of 580 proteins they analyzed, like 2 were rotated. Well, I don't know if that has much weight. There's a lot of studies out there, but there's not a strong evidence, because it's like 480,000 times less energy in this type of radiation. Overhead power lines. Yes, overhead power lines. They carry 750,000 volts, and they have found some correlation between that and children in areas within 600 meters of these overhead power lines. Now let's move to the side that is the scarier one, the one that is ionizing. The first one is the sun. If we get ultraviolet radiation, if we get exposed to sun, our skin will get red, and eventually we will develop skin wrinkles and melanoma, skin cancer, if we make a habit of it. X-rays. X-rays is one of the type of radiation that is used. Now, this is Landon. Landon's here. What they did to him is they shot a whole bunch of rays through his body, and on the back there was a digital sensor or a film that will receive those rays, and then since the bones have calcium, calcium absorbs these rays, and then there's going to leave a shadow behind. Now the scarier one, gamma rays. This type of rays will cause damage, and then these are the ones that we have to deal with. The orange one is the international sign for this type of radiation, and the yellow one is the one in the US. Now, we've seen this, the atom, we explain a little bit about this. The center is going to have protons and neutrons, and then there's going to be, whoa, there we go. What happened there? Somebody kicked me out. Let me just go back in. Oh. Let me make sure. Oh, no. Here, hang on. There we go. So there are going to be electrons floating around. This is another way to look at it. And then when we talk about this ionizing radiation, are going to be different types of radiation. There's alpha and beta and gamma. We're just going to look at this really brief. These elements, this is in nature, some of those produce radiation naturally. Like if we take a deep breath, we just inhale naturally radioactive air. That's just the way it is. But then the atoms of the devices that cause this ionizing radiation, everything actually has a half-life. Half-life is basically the time it's going to take for an amount of radioactive material to just have half of it still being radioactive. Like, for instance, uranium. It has a half-life of 4.5 billion years. So if you have a gram of uranium, then you would take 4.5 billion years for half of that to just decay into lead. So all of the elements go through that. There are some other elements like silver. It has like seconds. It just like in 20 seconds it decays. Alpha rays are the ones that it's a helium nuclei, just 2 protons, 2 neutrons that leave from the center of the atom. Now these particles, they can be stopped with your clothes. They won't go into your body, and they can be stopped with a piece of paper. Now one example of that is polonium-210. Now, those particles don't travel very far. They only travel like 8 centimeters. I don't know if you remember this. It was big news back in 2006. This is an ex-Russian spy. The guy was poisoned with polonium-210. This particle, even though, he was just only given like 10 micrograms. And he received it in a tea that he was given, but it was killed basically. But in 3 weeks, the guy just lost all his hair, and his trip to hell was more horrible because even though those alpha particles on the outside of the body don't do much, once you inhale them, they are an awesome ionizing agent inside your body, and then basically a guy was just cut to shreds at the molecular level. Yeah, if you smoke, you're going to be inhaling some of that polonium-210 in small quantities. Beta rays, they are not as common. The ones that we see in the environment will be bananas. Yes, bananas, we saw some practice yesterday with that, but bananas have a potassium K40 that also produces that. Now, gamma rays are the worst. Those are just highly energized photons that leave from the center and cause a lot of damage. Radiotherapy machines in hospital, they use gamma rays to kill cell cancers. Oh, my time is up. Okay, I'll move on. Cobalt-60. Should I stop? Isn't that the rule? Stop. All right, then I guess I'm done. Oh, speed it up. Okay. No, stop. Okay, so radiotherapy machines. Now, what's the problem with all of this? When you have something like Chernobyl, all of those rays together in one place, it explodes. This basically had the power of 40 nuclear bombs that was released into the environment. The damage is not caused instantly. Depending on the dose of radiation you get, you can die at the moment, or they can be extensive damages to the environment, to the person, to the organs, and also mutations. Now, the nuclear fuel is stored in dry storage. It's safe. It is clean. It's much cleaner. The energy that you generate with the power of 1 ton of uranium ore is equivalent to what you need to generate with coal, which is going to be like 1 million tons of it. So it's way much cleaner, and if stored properly, it's going to be safe. Now, the symptoms of radiation, you have headaches, and you have dizziness, erratic behavior, you're going to have memory loss, you're going to have headaches. I already said that. Okay, a couple other things I don't remember right now. But if radiation is everywhere, then how can we then prevent it? Well, let me just talk with this. I finished. This is your best friend, time. Try to keep, the time exposed to radiation to the minimum, like the sun. If you're going to go to the sun, just try to not spend too much time exposed to it unless you have protection. A conversation, just keep them brief on cell phones and keep them away from your head. Distance. We've talked about the inverse square law. We talk about that all the time in Wi-Fi. Well, it also applies to radiation because this is a neat mathematical relationship between the source of radiation and the distance. So if you're 4 feet away from a nuclear reactor, then you're going to receive a certain amount of radiation. If you move 8 feet away, doubling the distance, then you're going to receive 4 times less radioactivity. And then shielding. You have to protect yourself. You're going out to the sun, then use sunblock. Use a hat. Try to protect yourself from all these rays. And with that, my friends, I apologize, Mr. Parson, I went a lot longer. That's it. Now, last year, we had Raymond, several of the people here helped crowdsource, some funding for him. And
hi, everyone. It's me, Raymond. As you might have noticed, I'm not at WLPC this year. My ALS has been progressing too much, and I need too much assistance with daily things. And so it wasn't possible for me to join you guys. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank you, the Wi-Fi community. Thank you for making it possible to make memories with my family. As you might know or might have seen, Ferney has surprised me with a very generous crowdfunding that you as a community have done. This made it possible for me and my family to take a trip to Brazil. And as my wife has some flight anxiety, we were able to take a business class flight to Sao Paulo, which again helped in creating memories for the kids. Their first long distance flight was a business class experience. And so it also kind of helps save the planet because every flight they want to do now probably is business class. And so they'll need to save a little bit of money for that and fly less. I also want to especially thank Lariana and her husband Felipe for welcoming us to Brazil. They opened their hearts, included us into their friends and family, again helping us making great memories. So I won't steal too much time of Ferney's presentation. And so once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, you need this?
All right, stay here on stage. You need to stay here. All right. We're not done.
Hello? Is this thing still on? Yes, it is. Well, you thought you might have gotten rid of me, but I have one more surprise up my sleeve. I really appreciate what each and every one of you have done for us as a family, but I want to put a spotlight on a very special person who always goes above and beyond for everyone in our Wi-Fi community. And who would have thought that of a Colombian drug lord turned Wi-Fi guru? So yes, I'm talking about you, Ferney. You have done so much for this community that I wanted to give you a special thank you. And for that, completely separate from the Wi-Fi Awards, I created the Wi-Fi Wise Award. There's only one, and you're getting it. So I want to virtually hand this award to you. It's the Wi-Fi Wise Award for being the heart of this community. And so with great pleasure, Stephen, who you know is a great friend of mine, will be here to hand this over to you. And Everyone, please give Ferney a hug for me. Thank you very much.